sense of smell, or what we call it olfaction. The sense of smell or olfaction is the function of the nose. But one might think that all the nose is concerned with the sense of smell. We have to know that only a small part of the nose, which is present at the roof of the nose, at this site, and this is called the olfactory epithelium, at this area is only responsible for the smell of the sense of smell, while other parts of the nose are concerned with other functions, like providing a passage to the entry of air into the lungs, and also lead to humidification of this air. Also, it is important in the process of phonation and production of sound. While if we talk about the sense of smell, we have a small part measured about 10 square centimeter present at the roof of the nose. This area is only responsible for the sense of smell. As we said that this area is called the olfactory epithelium. It contains multiple types of cells. The basic type of cell and the functional cell in this part of the body, what we call it the olfactory sensory neuron. Olfactory sensory neuron. Olfactory sensory neuron is present within the olfactory epithelium. It consists of a cell body with a small or short dendrite and an axon. In addition to the olfactory sensory neuron, we have another type of cell, what we call it the basal cell. The basal cell has important function in the renewal or replacement of the dead or damaged olfactory sensory neurons, and the presence of supporting cells. These supporting cells has also important function in the secretion of mucus that cover the respiratory and the nasal passages. Now, if we concentrate on the olfactory sensory neurons, the olfactory sensory neuron, as we said, has a dendrite. The dendrite projects into the surface of the nose, into the cavity of the nose, and from the tip of the olfactory sensory neuron, there is what we call it a cilia. These cilia project into the nasal cavity. They are covered by mucus secreted by the supporting cells and other mucus secreting cells in the epithelium, like Bowman's gland. Bowman's gland and supporting cells secrete mucus. This mucus cover the surface of the olfactory epithelium. In this mucus, there is what we call the cilia that project from the dendrite of the olfactory sensory neuron. These cilia has special receptors that, when unite with the odorant particle, it leads to the production of action potential through the mediation of G protein coupled pathway. This will result in formation of action potential. This action potential will stimulate the nerve cell, and after that it will stimulate the axon of the olfactory sensory neuron. After the second part of the olfactory sensory neuron is the cell body. The third part is the axon. The axon receives action potential generated due to contact of the odorant particle with the receptor present in the cilia of the olfactory sensory neuron. Axon travel for short distance. After that, it move or it pass through a small openings or pores in the ethmoid bone that is part of the skull. After that, the olfactory nerve is inside the skull. In this area, it is outside the skull. In this area, it is inside the skull. After entering into the skull through the small pores in the ethmoid bone, which we call it the cribriform plate, it will form what we call it the olfactory bulb. This is the marked or colored by yellow. We call it the olfactory bulb. It is present inside the skull and has important structure. It's present inside the skull and has important structure called the olfactory glomeruli. The olfactory glomeruli is part of the olfactory system. It is present in the olfactory bulb inside the skull. It is formed by the communication or contact between the axons of the olfactory sensory neuron with the dendrites of the mitral cells. The dendrite of the mitral cells will form, or mitral cells will form, the remaining of the olfactory nerve. The olfactory nerve, as we know, is the first cranial nerve that is responsible for the perception of smell. It originates from the nasal cavity and from the epithelium, where the first order neuron arises. The second order neuron arises from the mitral cell, and then fibers will move into the specific areas present in the brain, like the anterior olfactory nucleus, olfactory tubercle, piriform cortex, amygdala, and entorhinal cortex. These 5 areas from which we have 2 pathways. The first pathway will move to the thalamus, and from which to the orbitofrontal cortex, and this is responsible for the conscious perception of smell. And this is the fully developed in human, and this is the important pathway. And also the same of these nerves will move into the frontal cortex also. The amygdala is important in the emotional stress or emotional part of the smell, like being sad or happy when you smell, or when you smell certain odor. Okay, this is the olfactory cortex, and it is pathway as we see in there. This is the olfactory epithelial cells, the olfactory sensory neuron. It arises move through the cribriform plate into the olfactory bulb, and from the olfactory bulb, olfactory nerve will move into the inside the skull, into the brain, where it ends at certain areas in the cerebral cortex. After part of it move into the thalamus, and then into the cerebral cortex for the perception of smell. This is all about the sense of smell. The other part that should we know about is the taste sense or gustation. The taste sense or gustation has an important functional unit, is the taste buds. The taste buds are globular structures present inside the tongue. We have to know that not only the tongue, or not the tongue is the only organ responsible for the taste. We have another parts in the body, and specifically in the mouth, that are responsible for the taste. Important parts of them are the palate, epiglottis, and the pharynx, in addition to the tongue. So taste buds present not only in the tongue, they are present in the other areas responsible for the taste perception, or the sense of taste. Again, taste buds are globular structures. It has 2 basic types of cells: the basal epithelial cells, or the basal cells, and the taste cells. The basal cells, as its name implies, is the cell responsible for the renewal of the taste cells, while taste cells is the functional cell present inside the taste bud. They has important projections and cilia or hair that project through the taste pore into the surface of the tongue or other part that is covered by mucus secreted from glands present in the tongue or other areas responsible for the perception of taste. As you see in there, this is a typical olfactory bulb. It consists of the basal cells present at the base of the bulb that is responsible for the renewal of the taste cells, while the taste cells has important hair projections reach through the taste pore into the surface of the tongue and is covered by a mucus. At the base of the taste bud are the sensory nerve that transmit the action potential generated in the taste cells due to contact with the udder. It will transmit it into the brain. In addition to that, the taste buds, there are important structure present in the tongue, in which the taste buds are arranged in, and what we call it the papillae. The papillae, as you see in this picture, is the dark red dots present in the tongue. This is called the fungiform papillae. It is present in most areas of the tongue, specifically in the anterior part of the tongue. The other part of the papillae are the foliate papillae, which mean the small grooves or the tiny grooves present on the side of the tongue, while the circumvallate papillae are small dots present in the V shape at the back of the tongue. These papillae are important structures present in the tongue. In these papillae arrange the taste buds as you see in this picture. This is a circumvallate papillae which has multiple taste buds arranged on both sides of the groove formed by these papillae, while in a fungiform papillae present in the anterior part of the tongue, the taste buds present in the surface or in the apical part of the papillae. The mucus secreted into the surface of the tongue formed by the von Ebner's glands and other cells or mucus cells that produce the mucus. After we know that the taste buds is the functional unit, has taste cells, these taste cells will be stimulated by the taste scent particle, which will initiate action potential travel to the nerve into the brain. But there are three specific nerves, cranial nerves, responsible for the transmission of the taste signals into the brain. The first one of them is the facial nerve through the chordae tympani branch. It will transmit the taste sensation from the anterior two-thirds of the tongue. The second part is the glossopharyngeal nerve, which transmit the taste sensation from the posterior one-third of the tongue. And the third nerve is the vagus nerve, which transmit the taste sensation from the pharynx. The taste fibers from these three glands will unite and will meet in the nucleus of the tractus solitarius, from which second-order neuron will arise into the thalamus, and from there into the brain, into the cortex, into the area of the cerebral cortex responsible for the perception of taste. For a long time, it was thought that certain areas of the tongue are responsible for the perception of certain modality of taste. But now it is well known that all areas of the tongue are equally sensitive to all modalities of taste. Thank you for your attention.